J.D. Vance is a lame duck before he's even a duck.
Well, right now we're focused on Minneapolis because that's where we have the highest concentration of people who have violated our immigration laws.
Hey there, welcome back into another breaking story here at Occupy Democrats. And what is the real chance J.D. Vance, just based on this recent press conference regarding Minnesota and ICE, has of ever becoming president? Well, let's just start with the fact you're already lying like Trump, because Texas and Florida have approximately 3.5 million undocumented people.
And that's also, frankly, where we see the most assault of our law enforcement officers.
U.S. citizens pushing back on unconstitutional ICE tactics is not assault.
If you assault somebody, if you make a 9-year-old girl cry because you walked into her church and harassed her, we're going to go after you with every single tool that we have.
But it's okay for ICE to assault a 5-year-old who's a U.S. citizen, right, J.D.?
An ICE memo allows agents to enter people's houses without a judge's warrant. What do you say to people who are concerned about this violating the Constitution, and how much is this tactic being used?
I saw that story, and the story is like so much that I read in the mainstream media. It's missing a whole lot of context. No one is saying, look, there are exceptions. For example, a crazy exception, if somebody is fired at from inside a house, they don't need a warrant to go inside that person's house. There are very narrow exceptions to the warrant requirement.
Yeah, JD, you have to create a crazy exception because there are no logical exceptions to the way ICE is conducting themselves. And if you'd like to see J.D. Vance never in the White House, just subscribe to the channel. But he keeps going.
What ICE has proposed, what the Department of Homeland Security really has proposed in the Department of Justice, is that we can get administrative warrants to enforce administrative immigration law.
Can get, but you guys aren't.
President, you've said that it's time to turn down the temperature. Does that include changes to both ICE and CBP tactics that we've seen employed on the streets, including less than lethal tactics, pepper spray, pepper balls? Beyond that, what is the federal government's role in turning down the temperature?
You talked about tactics, and you talked about the response to things, that we don't employ the kind of tactics that are only necessary when violence is committed against officers.
That's a stone cold lie.
Whenever you have a law enforcement operation, you're going to have people that make mistakes. That is the nature of law enforcement.
No, it isn't, JD. It's just an ICE excuse.
Your administration has said repeatedly this is about safety, about making Americans feel safer. So what do you say to people here in Minnesota who say it's the overwhelming presence of ICE officers and federal officers and their tactics that are making them feel less safe?
The chaos that people are seeing, and I understand there is frustration of the chaos, I'd say that we're doing everything that we can to lower the temperature.
No, you're not, JD, and that's why in this breaking story, big-time new information showing young Trumpers, not so much in your camp, hillbilly elegy, based on the way you've conducted yourself. Check this story out.
Young Trump voters trash Vance as too much of a loser to be MAGA heir. The vice president has little support among Republicans aged 18 to 24 heading into 2028. A group of young Republicans who support Donald Trump have resoundingly balked at the idea of Vice President J.D. Vance running in 2028. 9 Republicans aged 18 to 24 who took part in a focus group conducted by Longwell Partners revealed that the Gen Z voters were far from enthused about the prospect of a White House bid from the MAGA heir apparent, according to Politico. 8 of the 9 young voters did not name Vance when asked who they would like to see as the GOP presidential candidate in 2028. The only participant who suggested the vice president later signaled he was not fully convinced, saying that while Vance's experience in office was a plus, it was not decisive. I think because he already is a VP, like he has more experience than most people will, which puts him at an advantage, said Ruben T., a voter in Georgia. Vance has long been expected to announce plans to run in 2028, even though a crucial endorsement from Trump has so far been lukewarm at best. One major roadblock to Vance openly expressing his presidential ambitions is that the 79-year-old Trump has spent months suggesting he might seek an unconstitutional third term in office. I don't think Vance can win because I think he's too connected to the current political establishment in Washington, which I think has a very negative approval rating right now, said Sam Z., a voter in Minnesota. If you look at what he was about in 2018, 2019, 2020, and you look at what he's about now, it's very, very different. Somebody younger running for office would be awesome. So that's the one thing I wouldn't mind for Vance. But overall, I just don't think he can win. I think he's kind of flip-flopped on a lot of issues. Alexandra M., a voter in Maryland, added that it was time for someone new to lead the Republican presidential ticket in 2028. He also cited concerns about Trump's handling of, and backpedaling on, the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files, noting that J.D. Vance was also pushing that as well. When the 18 to 24-year-olds were asked who else they would like to see as potential candidates in 2028, they offered some surprising answers. Among the names mentioned were 2024 hopefuls Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Ohio gubernatorial candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. Another long-touted 2028 contender, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, as well as Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton and political newcomer James Fishback, who is running for the Republican Florida gubernatorial nomination to replace the term-limited DeSantis. The Daily Beast has contacted Vance's office for comment.
As said, J.D. Vance is a lame duck before he even has a chance to be a duck. And quite frankly, the level of twister game and pretzel, self-flip-flopping, waffling he's done since first saying, I'm a never Trump guy, yeah, him. That's why. Because you have shown how much of a spineless punk you truly are. You guys like and share the video and stay frosty.